We're talking to Hunter and we're talking about all things electric vehicles. How are you today?
Oh, good. Thanks for having me, mate, again. How are you going?
Great to see you again. Now,
Good.
electric vehicles are definitely prominent at the moment with everything going on in the world.
Yeah,
I'm even thinking of
crazy
trading
times.
my car in when it comes out of lease at the end of next year for something electric.
Yeah. Look, I think it'd be crazy not to definitely have a look. The interesting times where, we have this so-called issue with fuel crisis. It's the same thing that happened in 1973 when we created the Australian Electric Vehicles Association. It was a fuel crisis back then. And here we are seeing history repeat. It's crazy stuff.
50 plus years on, huh?
Yeah. And almost before my time it was set up. And it was totally for the same reason, economic reasons back then. They were converting cars back then to electric just to have their daily drivers so they can afford to have that freedom to go whenever they want and not be restricted by, the odd and even number plates, if you remember back that far.
Well, that's why I'm surprised we're not even doing that now. I thought they might do that because when there were strikes, there used to be strikes back in the 80s and 90s, they used to always have odds and evens you could only fill up, and then there were days with water restrictions too. Odds, one day of the week you could do your watering and the next day the house number on the other street side could water.
They're saying the word is that this particular issue that's happening now is worse than the two first ones in 73 and in 76, I think it was. It was worse. It's now worse than it was then, so why aren't they
So how do we tackle it? I mean, obviously electric vehicles are a good option, but not everyone has got one, and then they're quite expensive too, aren't they?
Well, yes and no. The second-hand market definitely has built up since then. We've got guys like myself that were first adopters 10 years ago. We're starting to turn over our cars, not because they're bad or good. We're seeing the better efficiencies happening with the newer cars. So, we're one of those guys that, want to have, and I'm face it, I like to have the latest and greatest as well. But that now opens up that second-hand market. We've also got all the governments and stuff that invested in those earlier EVs. They're now starting to roll over their fleet. So we're seeing that second-hand market grow. And if someone wants to jump onto car sales or amazing EV websites, they'll see those EVs there for thing and just choose for electric vehicles only, and then they'll just get the list of electric vehicles that are around Australia.
And the elephant in the room on this one is about the batteries. Now, everyone says that the batteries are worth more than the cars.
Yeah, well, they're about 55% of the value. Yeah, absolutely.
So if you buy a second-hand EV, the battery's obviously going to have a bit of a memory in it already, isn't it?
So at the moment, we're seeing the stats coming in where, even a car that's done 100,000 Ks, the battery's still at like 92% of capacity. So they really are, they're even less than what they predicted back 10 years ago. Now, the older generations of batteries, sure, they had troubles in the early days. They've certainly got over that with the chemistry now. So again, if you're looking second hand, I'd be probably looking around about that 5 to 6 year old mark at the most.
Okay.
The 10, 11, 12 year old cars, they've probably either had a new battery or they've had a replacement. They're ones to go for as well.
Yeah, if they've got a new battery
They've got the newer batteries already. So, you do get that look around. But
so you can retrofit a modern battery into an old car.
Yeah, so for instance...
So that you don't have to get another old battery.
Yeah, my daughter, just before she went off to university, has had a Leaf. It started off with about 150 Ks range. It's a 12-year-old car. Yeah. And again, it was one of those older generations of chemistry. It's now only got 70 Ks range, right? So that's one that has gone down by 50% over, say, 12 years. But the replacement batteries you can get for them now aftermarket, like it was a 150k car brand new, now the replacement battery is giving it 400k's range. So now we're talking, and for a reasonable, I think it's still about a 10 grand price, don't get me wrong, and if you're getting someone else to do it, it might be close to 18. Yeah. But for a car that's worth 10, you might go, but now that's going to give you a car that's recycled. You know, these cars are really built well. They're Nissan branded. They certainly have no problems with their running gear, but those days they didn't have cooling and that for the batteries. Right, they just air cooled them, and that was a bit of a bad judgment on Nissan's behalf. But now the new modern batteries will give them a line of life that do it. So that's probably a worst case scenario with batteries.
You can get a new battery for an old car. That sounds good.
Absolutely. In fact, and believe it or not, it's the Australians that are doing the retrofits. There's a couple of guys in Brisbane and in Melbourne that they're actually leading the way on this. So there's a bit of electronics to do as well with the BMS, but they're the ones that are actually producing this stuff out of all the. There's a few other on the planet, but it's interesting the Australians are doing the engineering to make this stuff stuff happen.
And so obviously there's a lot more interest in electric vehicles at the moment with the crisis going on in the world.
Crazy.
What are you seeing anecdotally? Because we're going to have to keep moving.
No, that's fine. So we're seeing, well, year on year, so in the last 2 months, we've got 100% take up on purchases of new EVs. So, whereas I've got a couple of stats here that, so over 18,500 EVs were sold in the first 2 months of this year, and that was before the war started, actually. It's sort of part of that. So it's a 107% increase compared to the same time on 2025. They haven't quite got last month's figures in, but that'll be interesting as well, since, that was the war month. I shouldn't use those words, should I? But mainly, Tesla and BYD are leading the way on that. I don't know if anyone noticed, but, there was those couple of reports before our little incident at the moment that BYD were stockpiling over in Queensland. They were having car parks full of this stockpile, but now they're definitely selling their gear, and it makes you wonder if they knew something that someone didn't. But anyway, that's my opinion. I'm not going to stick to it. But
look, there's lots of theories around at the moment too, of course, because with a big war going on, and there was a mateship between good old Donald and Elon Musk.
I love hate. I must say.
Love hate, but it's interesting. They were good best mates for a little while.
Yeah.
I think this would only be helping. Musk was getting his cars targeted, so that's why they. My theory is this. My conspiracy on this is that they manufactured a breakup.
Yeah.
Trump and Musk, so that so people stop burning Musk's cars. Remember, they were all burning his cars, and then all of a sudden
they still are. It happened in Sydney 2 days ago. The bloody dealership, the car.
But Tesla. Was that deliberate?
Yeah, absolutely. They found jerry cans there and everything. So I don't know.
Gracious.
I don't know why they're spending so much money on fuel to burn electric cars. That's just the crazy part about that.
Off keeping the fuel, wouldn't you? I mean, seriously. But look,
you're right. I reckon there was a bit something there.
You have a big war. You go to war. And
mate, I've been saying
it's a petrol war.
I've been saying to heaps of people, like, Trump's the best EV salesman we've got at the moment. Like, he's just made it happen. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're seeing though that this history does repeat itself, and this is why I guess I wanted to come on and alert people of that. But now we're in a time where we do have a genuine alternative, and I think people are genuinely looking at this. Yes, there will be a market rise. Perhaps it may have even run already, but we did have a really big stockpile of pretty good vehicles there from China and Tesla as well, although most of their stuff's made in China too now.
Yeah.
So just be aware that there's alternatives. I don't say for everyone to go out there, but if you're the common family in Australia always seems to have 2 vehicles. Yeah, cool. Keep your diesel if you want to go camping or you want to go bush or whatever. Absolutely no problem. They're the suitable vehicle still, right? And I have a big EV that goes out bush, and yes, I still find it hard to charge out there. That's the infrastructure issue that we've got in the Northern Territory, and I can talk about that. But really, like, if you made your second vehicle even a short range EV just to pop around town, mate, it's the perfect combination at the moment, and just gets you in. Yeah.
And anyone want more information, they can find out more from you.
Yeah, and also, happy to come and talk to people in the shop. But the Australian Electric Vehicle, ava.asn.au, has all the models and all the stats of all the cars that are available in Australia. And we're talking over 100, 150 different vehicles now. We're not talking just a couple of models. So, yeah, we definitely want to have a look there.
And you can be seen at Alistronics too. Thank you so much today. We've run out of time. We've been talking to Hunter, and he's from Alistronics. You can find him there and find out all about electric vehicles.
Thanks, guys.